You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
The podcast you are about to listen to is a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB Financial. ATB sponsors hockey all the way from Tom Thumb and Pee Wee to the pros. They also love helping local volunteers whose tireless efforts often make hockey possible in their communities. For more on how ATB is here for you, head over to atb.com/listens. Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is September the 30th, 2019. With you today is myself, Carl, and back from his time away, Stevie Nick.
I'm back. I don't know. I don't even remember where I was. For a second, I was like, back? Where was I?
Do you remember now?
I remember now. Okay. Yes. It's a very vibrant vacation.
Yeah. Any details you wish to share? Can share?
None. I will not go into any specific stories on the air, but for the listeners who do care, I was in Munich, Germany, experiencing Oktoberfest for the first time with 4 of my buddies.
That's fantastic. And it was obviously a good time, if there's stories that cannot be shared.
We had a blast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. Glad to have you back because, Nick, hockey season's here.
I know. Guess what I did this weekend?
Recovered from Oktoberfest.
At a live hockey game.
Really? Like a amateur game?
No, like an NHL, albeit preseason game.
Okay.
But I was there live.
Wow. How was it? Feel good to be back?
It was nice watching hockey again.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to Wednesday night when this gets fired up. It's going to be good.
Yeah. The season is going to be great. It was Detroit versus Toronto. Did you watch it?
I did not. I tried to, and it was a struggle.
Yeah, it was a bad score.
But I saw the score and felt bad for you. But that's a theme that a lot of people are going to be experiencing this year, Nick, especially those in the Denver area. Have you heard of what's happening down there in Denver?
I have not, but okay. I'm eager to.
So here's the thing. You may have heard of, have you heard of Comcast?
I have heard of Comcast, yeah.
DirecTV, Dish Network.
Yes.
These are 3 of the biggest cable providers in the United States. They are no longer carrying Altitude Sports, which, as you obviously know, has the broadcasting rights for the Colorado Avalanche, as well as every other sports team in Denver. Which means, if you live in the Denver area, you are no longer able to watch your sports teams on TV.
It's actually crazy. No one's carrying it.
It is. They have the rights. I hope that there's still I assume that they'll still be broadcasted on the streaming platforms. But right now, Altitude Sports is not going to be on there. So if you head to altitudesports.com, it is a big piece there. 15 years ago, the network started up. And it's become a very interesting piece because they essentially want status quo, whereas the broadcasters are like, no, we need to charge less for this. We're not giving you as much money to carry you. And so it's become quite this battle. And with seasons starting up now, because they have the Nuggets and the Avalanche, also lacrosse and soccer. And so for those teams, they will not be on cable this year.
That's crazy. So are you telling me the broadcasters locked them out?
Essentially, but because they're all agreements, right? It's not like you don't have a privilege to be shown on these. Every time you're, TSN Sportsnet, they go to your NBCSN in the States. They go to you're a distributor and they say, here's the deal, and they reach some sort of an agreement. Well, Altitude apparently, wants some more money than they're getting, and this was their strategy.
So for Avalanche fans like yourself, how are you going to watch these games? I guess you can watch it through the NHL.com, right?
Right. I'll be watching through NHL TV as we always do.
Yeah.
As I always do. But for everyone else, I'm not sure. I haven't been able to find out if blackouts still apply, which would be a crazy thing and something I would for sure see the NHL doing.
Keeping the blackouts in place?
Or
removing them?
Leaving them in place. For sure they should be removed. Like if you cannot watch it on your cable, how else are you going to watch it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of the blackout, right?
Yeah. Yeah, to get people to watch on cable, to go to the games.
That would be terrible of the NHL to do.
Yeah.
You're still blacked out. So the only way to watch it then is through the Altitude app or website or something.
Yeah. Yes. And so if you have that, you need to watch it there. And again, because there's streaming rights online, that's kind of an iffy thing as well on how you're able to stream that online. Oftentimes you're not able to stream those through the website. So, it's very, because they do not have a streaming option. You can't buy Altitude Sports.
Right.
Just them. So.
What an interesting twist to the Avalanche season.
So as we get started, and we'll be talking more about the Avalanche as we get into this episode, but a very
as if they didn't have enough drama in their preseason already.
Yeah. Well, now we are here. Let's get to it. We had every single restricted free agent except for one, and you know what? I know he counts, but we're not even going to mention his name. Does he count?
I mean, technically speaking, he does.
Technically, yeah.
He counts on paper.
Yeah,
but
so
in our hearts, not really.
No, so every restricted free agent that there's room in our hearts for has signed. Celebrations, we're going to get into that. We're going to preview the Atlantic Division and get ready for hockey. We've got a brand new high-sticking format coming out, Nick. Stay tuned for that.
Very excited.
This is the first place you will hear about that. Let's get into it. The very first contract that was signed after last week, restricted free agent wise, we'll get to one that happened actually before that. Matthew Tkachuk signed a 3-year, $7 million per deal with the Calgary Flames. I guess you missed last week when we talked about bridge deals, but the fact that he's making more money than Braden Point, not okay.
Well, I don't understand this contract. Why? Why is he making so much money? He's making more than Point. He's making more than Laine.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I mean, of the guys that have signed short bridge deals, apparently he's the most valuable, which is crazy because that's also not true.
I don't believe it.
No.
I remember when it happened, my wife turned to me and she was like, is there something we don't know about Matthew Tkachuk? Or is the Flames management just that bad?
Yeah. And it even has one of the it ramps up for that last year. So
yeah,
his qualifying amount would be $9 million.
Oh my God. $9 million. So This guy thinks at the end of the, I don't know, Carl.
I don't either.
How much do you think he's going to be signed for at the end of this contract?
His next deal?
I can't see this guy being worth $10 million.
No way. Unless and there's definitely potential that contracts blow up in the next CBA with the next TV deal.
Fair.
But I don't see that happening. Unless that's the only way that would happen. But no, he's not worth $9 million on a long-term deal even.
No.
There's no reason for that. So yeah, I don't know. That's a real team investment into him into the future.
He got the best of this team for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a good player and he's gotten better every year. I don't see him hanging with the rest of the 7 million players.
No, not even close. Even you look, like you said, right? He got more money than Point, got more money than, who's it? Laine. And Laine's was 1 year shorter. We'll get to his, but I'd rather I guess like I'd for sure rather point. And that's the point. That is the point, Nick.
All right, let's just shut this down. It's a short episode this week.
We're done. Yeah, so I don't know. The Flames can afford it. They could obviously fit him in. Moving forward could be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, sure they can afford it. It's just that's not the point.
No more. We had a deal, Nick.
I don't know how to avoid it now.
Yeah, it's all I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that at least it's only 3 years. I guess
Right.
that's the upside. That's the silver lining. At the end of this 3 years, they'll probably come to the conclusion that he's probably not. Long term is when he's going to start looking at next, and he's probably not going to get much more than that. Like I would have thought that $7 million was his long term deal.
Like a 7x7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been too upset with that.
But normally how these things go is like the bridge is lower that gets you to your big boy deal.
Yeah, which is what we saw that with all of them, right? Like McAvoy, Point, Laine, all these short bridge guys are making, under 7.
So do you know who he plays with regularly on a line?
He plays with Michael Frolik and Michael Backlund.
Wow. He has I'm just looking at his hockey reference page. He has very positive puck possession stats.
Well, especially if you look relative, because he plays with Michael Backlund and Michael Frolik.
So, I guess that's a good sign.
Yeah, and that line does have a lot of success. They're very happy in Calgary to have that line back together. So, from that perspective, sure, be able to keep a successful second line together is a great thing to be able to do.
It's just crazy when you look at the rest of the RFAs who were out there this year and what they all got. That's where it starts to fall apart for me, is relative to these guys. I don't see it.
No, absolutely. Well, let's get to the next one, and another bridge deal. Patrik Laine, after talking incredibly critically of his line mates, finally came to an agreement. 2 years, $6.75 million for each of those. What do you think?
I'm okay with it. I don't know. I think like it's a good deal if Laine plays to his potential. But he's kind of inconsistent, I find. And, if you look at, he went second overall behind Matthews, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't think it was ever really close, but I remember the media trying to drum up some competition, like, oh, who's it going to be? And since then, I think it's pretty clear who it should have been. And I think that both of their contracts reflect that.
Right, exactly. The fact that even, Laine's second year of this deal, 7.5, that would be his arbitrate or his qualified amount. So even moving out of this, that's kind of what that could become. But even still, it goes without saying, he is incredibly inconsistent, but still put up 30 goals last year. Like, I will absolutely pay, and I realize that I'm like, hey, don't pay this for Tkachuk, who also put up 30 goals last year. But like Patrik Laine has that, you can see that like because of the inconsistency, there's that like unfound potential in him. Yeah. That in due time will come. He has the talent, he has the skill. It's just a matter of putting it together, and that's really something that I think from an outside perspective, it is almost impossible to know what it is that he actually needs to get that done. We saw, the Players Tribune article with him. So an interesting character off the ice. So
100%. And I think that look, I'm looking at his stat line now. Last year, yeah, you're right. He scored 30 goals and that's pretty good. But the year before, he scored 44. And if you look at his deployment, he started more in the offensive zone this year than the year before. So he's got to show that last year is not who he is. The year before is who he actually is, which is why I think this is a really good bridge deal. Because now he's got 2 years to show them, hey, look, I can be consistent at this higher level. And then he can make his $9 or $10 million or wherever he should be. Because they didn't draft him to be a 30-goal scorer that high.
No, absolutely not. But luckily, they're not paying him that large amount. They would love to. They would love to have to pay him that, right? If that's what he actually would command. I'm also really disappointed though, because like in this, I think it really needs to be called his stat line is what you needed to say.
Oh no!
It's okay though.
You could have had line and point puns.
It's every single one of these. We need to alternate. Hold up. We're going to go to Kyle Connor next, but think of one for Mikko Rantanen. We'll see what you can come up with there.
Okay.
Let's stay in Winnipeg though. Kyle Connor also signed, so they managed to get both of them done and still have enough money to unsuspend Dustin Byfuglien if and when that happens. Which is, was a feat. That was obviously the difficulty of this offseason for Winnipeg. And they managed to get both of them in. Kyle Connor on that long-term deal, 7 years, 7.14, a total of $50 million across this. And speaking of the long-term value, I'm okay with this. Again, a little bit more than I maybe would have been okay with. I'm surprised it went over 7, but in the long run, it's fine.
I think I agree with you. It's a little more than I was expecting, but I think that down the line, it's going to look like a much better contract. Like I think after year 3 and 4, it's going to look pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, as the cap goes up, it'll look better.
Yeah, cap goes up and does not have a no movement clause in it, which is always the thing that you want, right? When you're up against it and you can move a guy. Not to the last 2 years is he locked down. So Kyle Connor going to be part of the Winnipeg Jets for a long time, which is a very good thing because this is a team that does not have a significant amount of this team locked up. So to be able to add another piece to that is good. Yeah,
it's huge. And then they just got to figure out Dustin Byfuglien, which I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I could use him playing again based on my latest fantasy draft.
Let's camp on that for a second. Do we want to do that now or save that till the end?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Our fantasy draft?
Yeah.
I mean, we might as well just talk about it since we're on the topic.
Sure. Yeah. So we did our draft.
Yeah.
Nick and I show up to the draft and have the terrible realization that we are picking right next to each other.
Carl first.
No, you first.
I was first?
You picked third.
Snaked.
It was a snake.
Oh,
which helped. I mean, so Nick managed to get Connor McDavid, which is why I know that you picked third, because I would not have picked my guy over him.
I can't believe he fell to 3.
You can thank Yahoo for that. Yahoo had him ranked third.
Yeah, the Yahoo rankings were weird.
Yeah, we were all talking about that in the draft. That like none of us based our decisions off the Yahoo ranks except for the one guy who was Joe, who was in London.
Yeah.
So sorry, Joe. You get the dregs of the team.
Yeah. Except for Byfuglien.
Except for Byfuglien. What happened there, Nick? Explain how you ended up with Dustin.
I was trash talking too much in the chat that I wasn't actually paying attention to what was happening in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking way too much. And then you said something like, oh yeah, well, just don't take Dustin Byfuglien.
I think what I said, because we were talking about how bad the rankings were, and I said to you, just take Byfuglien and get it over with, because he was the highest pre-ranked guy there. And then you did, and I was so flustered that I then messed up my next pick. Because I had a minute and a half to like recover from that, get over it, and then decide on my pick and make it. I had a few guys queued up. I was fine with the guy I had. I ended up taking Carter Hart earlier than I wanted to, though.
Yeah, and he got destroyed a little bit in Germany today.
I didn't see the results from there.
Yeah,
so.
They chased him from the net. That's okay. It's preseason. Yeah, I don't know what happened with the Byfuglien pick. I was not really paying attention, and I blame you for it.
Well, there we go.
But I think he's going to play this year.
I do think he will as well, but that is yet to be seen. So,
yeah.
So we will we'll see more of the fantasy league as we go throughout the year. Very excited. 16 people in that league. Big league this year.
Yeah, it's a big league. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Going to be great. Where were we? Mikko Rantanen. He's the next guy up. He signed a deal. Rumors all offseason that he wanted a long-term deal. The Avs are close to a long-term deal. And as the second last restricted free agent to sign, he signed a 6-year deal, $9.25 million. I'm all right with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you think of it.
I mean,
worth the holdout?
Sure. Like he might miss a couple games of the regular season. They haven't said when he will be able to make his debut yet. And it's just all of these deals. I think my general sense with every single one of these contracts, it's like, what about these? I look at every single one of them and I say, this is exactly what we all thought these contracts would be in July. Like, why did we wait 3 months to sign this deal? What was the deal that he was waiting for or the Avalanche were hoping for? That was going to be not $9.25 million.
It's a great question. I mean, you got to think that $9.25 million was the meeting in the middle, right? He wanted 10.5. They wanted to give him 8.25. I don't know.
Right. But like,
it's the meeting in the middle.
Does it take that long to meet in the middle? Like, obviously both sides in every single one of these restricted free agent deals were stubborn, or else one of them would have caved, right? So like every single team and player was stubborn enough to wait this long. It's just very interesting to me that this is how we got here, that they're now at this point where they're signing these deals that, like, if you had made a prediction of how much Rantanen would have got, if you had asked how much would Marner get, you'd be like, well, Matthews money, I don't know. And then he signs for Matthews money. If you had looked at points, you'd be like, well, it's probably going to be a bridge deal because Tampa can't afford an expensive long-term deal. And you probably could have guessed something about that. Like, most of these deals are exactly, especially the long-term ones, there's no crazy money here. It's just, I don't get why we had to wait this long. I'm fine with it, right? Like, sure, Mikko Rantanen, you're going to put up 100 points this year on McKinnon's wing. Great. That's worth 9.25 for me. Sure. But.
So you don't think it came down to seeing what everyone else was signing for? Like, did it all come down to Marner? Because that's when it all started happening.
It did. Yeah. I'm not sure if it came down to Marner or just like it came down to season time. Like, you're actually going to be missing games now.
Yeah.
And so I think there was an aspect of like, there was obviously a logjam of no one wanted to overpay and no one wanted to be underpaid.
Yeah.
And I think we just needed one team to break that ice and start that thing going. The fact that Marner went first, I don't think is really indicative of that being the cog that was really holding it up.
So on the whole, do you think there were, like, it sounds like you're pretty okay with most of the deals, but is there one like overpayment and one underpayment on all these RFAs?
I'm just trying to look here. I would say underpayment, 3 years, 4.9 for Charlie McAvoy seems a little low.
All the defensemen feel kind of low, to be honest with you.
Unless your name is Josh Morrissey.
Well,
that's my overpayment. Josh Morris, and it's not even one for this year, right? He would have still played. That's my overpayment. What about you? What do you have?
I'd probably say McAvoy for an underpayment too. I thought Werenski went much lower than I thought he'd end up. Overpayment.
Actually, yeah, I would go because Werenski was 3 by 5.
3 by 5, yeah.
And yeah, that's a better. I would rather Werenski over McAvoy, and I'm not going to lose my mind over 900,000. So yeah, Werenski's good.
Yeah, and then overpayment. I mean, I think Tkachuk's an overpayment. I think Marner's a little bit of an overpayment. That's where my mind goes. I'm with you on the Marner. And I guess Morrissey doesn't really count because that wasn't this year's guys. So, yeah. It is an overpayment for Morrissey. That one felt kind of like a panic move by the Jets. Like, we've lost 2 of our core defensemen. Dustin Byfuglien may or may not be retiring.
Yeah.
Quick, lock somebody up.
Yeah, we need a defenseman on this team next year.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think Braden Point is a little bit of an underpayment too. I was shocked at how low that came in, but
I mean, if you can have him putting up those numbers, making less than $7 million,
yeah,
come on now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's real good. There was a trade this week. A trade we predicted this guy would be traded. I mean, it's been talked about for years, right? Justin Falk, finally out of Carolina, and the rumored move was to Anaheim.
Yes.
You may notice, not in Anaheim.
Well, wasn't it dependent on him getting an extension with it?
Right, and so that's part of this is he was traded to St. Louis, then signed a 7-year extension. So he's now 8 years in St. Louis. Traded for Joel Edmondson, Dominic Bach, which I've heard some good things, but not likely more than a depth prospect, and a very tiny draft pick went the other way. So Justin Falk, now 8 years more in St. Louis, got some big money on this deal too. He's going to be making over the next 7 years, 6.5 for those 7 years, putting him at till he's 35 years old.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good for Justin Falk.
Like, it's pretty good for him to get paid that, or it's a good, you like the money?
I think it's pretty good for him to get paid that.
Yeah. I mean,
Look, he's a good defenseman. He's a stable defenseman, is what I like about him. He's quick on his feet. I don't see him as, I don't know, I guess he is a top 2 defenseman. Depends on the team.
I mean, if they lose Pietrangelo, who's a free agent after this year, this is kind of their Pietrangelo safety net. And I don't like it as that. I'm surprised on how long he got. Like seven more years after this one. 8 years total. Definitely seems like a big number for a guy that Carolina got very little for.
Yeah, I agree. And it just wasn't a move I was expecting the Blues to make. Right? And you mentioned Pietrangelo, and I think that's the immediate question that comes on this. It's not, is Falk a good fit for the Blues? It's, what does this mean about Alex Pietrangelo? Yeah.
What does it mean?
I think it means that his time in St. Louis is probably dwindling.
He's coming up. He'll be 30 at the start of next season. And I'm not a big fan of giving, 7-year deals to 30-year-olds, especially defensemen.
Yeah. So is he, the chatter's going to be nonstop this year on whether or not he's going to be traded.
Oh, absolutely. I would be shocked if they did trade him now.
You'd be shocked if they did or didn't.
Yeah, because let's assume, St. Louis just won the Stanley Cup. Let's assume they're still a good team. Again, okay. we both know that we're a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Probably the most skeptical I've ever been of a defending Stanley Cup champion being a good team. It's maybe they'll be the worst team in the league at Christmas again. Who knows? So let's assume that they're not dead last on Christmas. This team, he would be the best free or trade deadline pickup available.
Yeah.
And so for them to then move him, just keep him, and that's your trade deadline move.
Yeah, the own rental.
Exactly.
Which has become pretty popular the last few years.
Yeah. So I don't see, unless they're able to get a long-term piece in a trade, I don't see why they would do that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It was surprising for me because I just didn't think that St. Louis was in the market for a top 4 defenseman. Yeah,
well, because, Parayko and Pietrangelo kind of make that, they've got a solid core there to build off of. So
yeah.
I'm with you. Well,
so, I don't know. Interesting trade. I did not expect Falk to go to St. Louis. I would have loved for him to land in Detroit, but what are you going to do? And
it definitely makes the Blues better, right? Like, from their side.
Yeah, it does.
Especially if Pietrangelo is leaving, if they don't intend, they've had the conversation already.
Yeah.
They know what he wants. They know if they're willing to pay that. So if that's the way that's going, great move for the Blues to be able to bring him in at, a little more and a little longer than I would have liked, but a fine enough deal.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything long term. But the Leafs are they have two big defensemen at the end of the season who are coming off contracts, and Pietrangelo to Toronto has always been a big rumor.
It's true. I mean, they need to find cap space to pay him, but also that.
Oh, we'll see.
You say it like you know things, Nick.
I know nothing. I know. I'm just spitballing right now.
Well, do you want to move to the Atlantic?
Yeah, let's talk about the Atlantic.
All right. So this is our last division to preview. 8 more teams. We're starting at the bottom as per usual. And by usual, I mean once we started at the top, twice we started at the bottom. So
we're like Patrik Laine, no consistency.
Yeah. Do we want to start at the top again? I mean, the more interesting teams are in the middle, I find.
Yeah, let's start at the bottom. I have less to say about the bottom teams.
Okay. The Ottawa Senators.
They suck. Let's move on.
The Detroit Red Wings.
They suck. Let's move on.
Is there anything with as the resident Red Wings expert this year? I'm not going to rub salt in the wound. You said that they suck. Let's move on. For both of these teams, because after this there's some hope. Yep. I'll pick the Sens, but for the Wings, what's one reason to be excited as a Red Wings fan this season?
You know what? That, in all honesty, that top line is going to be pretty good. If they can find the top line I'm referring to is Dylan Larkin at center with Tyler Bertuzzi and Anthony Mantha on his wings. If they can find the same magic that they had at the end of last year, they will be very exciting to watch. They will pick apart other teams' top lines. They'll be amazing on the power play. The issue is that they'll be the only thing worth watching on this Red Wings team. And I realized that watching the game on Saturday when I was there is that line, those top 3 are great. They can keep up. They could keep up with the Leafs. It's the bottom 9 where it's just fell apart. It was like you're icing 3 fourth lines.
Well, and you know that we have a great affinity for fourth lines around here. So
we do love the fourth line.
Not the worst thing to happen. I have seen some crazy love for Anthony Mantha this preseason. What has changed with him that's made him go from good to holy cow, this guy might be really good?
So a few weeks ago, one of my buddies was asking me about Mantha and if he has the potential to be 40 plus goals this year. And I was just talking him down. And I'm like, no, this guy, he's got all the tools, but he's so inconsistent. Some nights he lights it up and other nights he's just invisible. Well, in this preseason, he was always visible and he was always lighting it up. What I notice about him is he's doing all the little tiny subtle things really, really well. And it's that attention to detail that I think is going to take him to the next level. So if he can do that consistently, which he's shown so far that he's doing, he will be next level. He will probably hit 40 goals, especially if he's playing on Larkin's wing, because Larkin will just dish him pucks.
That's captain material from Larkin right there, is what that is.
Yeah, that's a discussion we're not having right now.
Let's move to the Senators. One thing from them that I think is going to have some things to be excited about. You have another year where some of these younger guys, right? Brady Tkachuk's going to be developing. You'll be able to see what he can become. You now have Thomas Chabot being there. Some of these other players coming in. But also you have, on the flip side, what will likely be Craig Anderson's last season. And as a goaltender that has been beloved in Ottawa, I think it's something that you should, while he will not be good as, old Craig Anderson, they need to celebrate the time that he's had in Ottawa and what he's brought. And so that's something that I think is going to be a fun thing to do this season.
I agree. I do have one question about Ottawa. Did they need to extend Thomas Chabot when they did?
No. No. That was in no way necessary.
It's funny.
Like, it's the panic move that was, who did we just talk about as the panic move? Josh Morrissey. Yeah. It's like that, but more so.
I find it very funny. Look, I think that like with all the drama surrounding this team, on paper, I don't think that over the next few years they're in that bad of shape. Like they're not in any sort of cap trouble. If you look at their 2020, 2021 column, it's all UFAs and RFAs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're still holding on to Bobby Ryan, but that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's 3 more years of Bobby Ryan when you have so much space around that, right? They've got $10 million in space and literally zero reason to spend it. So
yeah. So here's my truly honest thoughts about Ottawa. If they can keep their owner behind a locked door and not let him talk publicly or to the media or anything, opinions on this team will change. Absolutely. They just got to get away from all the drama that he's creating.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's been a lot of it the whole time. So, next up, Buffalo. This is a team, brand new coach this year, right?
Yeah.
They brought in the soccer guy.
I like it.
Ralph Kruger back from his soccer stint. It's like when, Michael Jordan went and played baseball, but probably Ralph Kruger didn't have a gambling-based reason for doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe, but I doubt it. I don't know. I think he'll be able to bring new life to this team.
I think so too. And like similar to Ottawa, shockingly, a lot of guys not long term with this team anymore. Right? Yep. They've got a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things that could happen, and so it's kind of a prove it thing for a lot of the guys on this team. Do you want to be able to show that you're worth a long term deal? Well, make it happen.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think they've got their, top 2 locked in, and they know that, Eichel and Skinner. And from there, it's wide open, and I think that's a good thing. And they've got a lot of players here who have potential, such as Casey Middlestat. I mean, I think that Rasmus Dahlin's the real deal, and he's going to be part of that core too. And it'll be interesting to see whether or not Rasmus Ristolainen is still on the team for the entire year.
Yeah, he's the Buffalo Sabres version of Justin Falk. The fans always want him gone, always want him traded. And I think given the right situation, he has the talent to be good. I think it's more so the game planning side of his game is what needs some improvement.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think the Sabres team this year, they don't have the potential to be as bad as Detroit or Ottawa. So that's a good thing. But I don't think they're ready to hang with the big guys either.
Well, and that's the problem in this division, is that you have 3 very good teams and the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I still think they have goaltending issues they need to address too, but.
Oh, absolutely. Carter Hutton is not going to be enough to get them into that top echelon in this division.
No.
You know who could be though? Sergei Bobrovsky.
Nice segue.
Florida Panthers. Big changes in Florida this year, mostly in net. Probably solely in net. Roberto Luongo gone, James Reimer gone, Sergei Bobrovsky in. Is that enough to take this team, like replacing Luongo with Bobrovsky, is that enough to take them into that top tier?
I think yes. I think that if not, I think goaltending is what they've been missing all this time. And every year everyone's like, it's the Panthers' year. They can do it. They were like top 5 in goal scoring last year in the league.
That's pretty good.
Like they can score. Like they're there offensively. It's the goals against that kills them. And I think Bobrovsky is going to help immensely with that.
Well,
so go ahead.
And Joel Quenneville behind the bench now.
Yeah.
Like those are 2 huge upgrades. So
and like they've essentially made the statement like we're here. This is it now. We're in a position where we think we can win.
There is officially no more excuses for this team, though.
Correct.
Like, you have brought in the best coach available, right? Like, I would say, top 5 coach in the league?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
You brought in a top 5 coach in the league, top 5 goalie in the league.
Yep.
And your team is now your core is at that point where you now have, Barkov's 24, Huberdeau's 26. Like, these are the guys that need to be producing and need to be able to do that. And if they cannot, this team is going to not be able, I failed at making my point is what happened. My point fell off the rails there. They just need to be better. This is the prove it time. And if you can't, Florida's got to make some big changes.
But what more do these guys need to prove? Barkov had 96 points last year.
I get that. But they also, how many times has this team made the playoffs? Like, how many times has Alexander Barkov made the playoffs?
Fair. I just don't think that these top offensive producers are what they've been lacking. Now, if you want to talk about Aaron Ekblad and his production, I'm with you there. He needs to step it up.
Yep.
Big time. I mean, he should be getting more points than Keith Yandel.
I mean, he should be doing a lot of things better than Keith Yandel.
Yeah, at this point, for sure.
So, what do you think? With their changes, they finished last year 5th in this division, behind Montreal, who finished close, and they had a shot. They went on a late-ish, a solid run. Is this team maybe a wild card? Maybe beat one of those top 3?
I've got them penciled in as a wild card, but if they were to sneak into the top 3, I think they'd knock Boston out.
I do think that if I were to pick up one of those top 3 to drop, it would be Boston.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be pretty close when looking at the Metro. I know we talked last week, and I think I put both of the Metro teams in my wild card.
Yeah.
But I don't really like it. I had a collection of Carolina, New Jersey, and the Rangers as my teams in that wild card. Could I see Florida being better than them? Yeah. So I would definitely have Florida as my wild card.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Florida this year. I think they're going to be a really interesting and fun team to watch.
Well, and having that the new coach in town is definitely going to be a much bigger improvement over Bob Bugner. Turns out that's a big reason to have success there.
Yep.
Next up, Montreal.
Les Canadiens.
A team that they tried their best, Nick. They did not successfully get Sebastian Aho, though.
I don't think they tried their best. I think they just tried.
I mean, I don't think that they were they literally signed him. They were the only team that could successfully sign someone to an offer sheet. They just signed a matchable offer sheet.
Yeah, they didn't do it with the intention of truly stealing him away. They didn't make him an offer that Carolina could refuse.
That's true. They did it enough that they wouldn't have to sell the farm and draft picks.
Yes.
Is what they did. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I think it showed. I don't think they ever truly believed they were going to get him, but I think it shows to the fan base at least a desirability of the idea that you're doing something that you want to improve the team. It's being aggressive, not too aggressive, but aggressive enough that you're the only team who tendered an offer sheet.
Yeah, it definitely looked good on the fan base, which is good because the rest of the offseason they did nothing. So signing Ben Sherratt on defense. And really, outside of that, I feel the look on your face says I've missed something.
Well, do they need to do anything?
Well, there's a team that missed the playoffs and is notoriously because has it not been 2 years in a row that Montreal's missed the playoffs?
I believe it has been.
So if you've missed the playoffs 2 years in a row and you're no, the status quo is what we need. Yeah, you do need to do something. Absolutely.
But I don't think you're going to get the status quo from this entire roster.
You're right. Shea Weber is going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Shea Weber we could spend a whole hour talking about Shea Weber and what's going on there. But I think you look at guys like Kotkaniemi, who needs to take a next step. I think you look at someone like Nick Suzuki, who's looking really good, and he's going to help the team out. And that includes next year, in my opinion. Like these two specifically are just positives for the next couple of years. I think Tatar was a great pickup, and I think he'll be good again.
Yeah.
Same with Max Domi.
I think, speaking of fantasy, I'm pretty sure I own Max Domi on all 3 of my fantasy teams this year. So
wow, you like Max Domi,
I'm all in on Max Domi. Yeah. He is just, being in Montreal has found a benefit for him where he is able to Arizona is not a place that it works really well when you have just a little bit of bravado. It's not a place, right? It's a great place for Phil Kessel to go and be Phil Kessel.
Yeah.
It is not a place for a showy Max Domi. And now he's able to be there. And, I don't think he's disrespectful in it. He's just having a lot of fun with the game. And it's great to see that and seeing him more of that coming out. I think we're going to see better production. Kotkaniemi, I definitely agree. And Nick Suzuki, I'll be very interested to see what he can do at the NHL level.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm looking at their stat page now, and they had one player who scored over 30 goals. And you need more than one player to score over 30 goals to truly be successful and make it to the playoffs. But I don't think they're far off. I think Max Domi can do it. I think Kotkaniemi, maybe not right now as an 18 or 19-year-old, but in 2 years, I think he can do it. The offensive potential is there. It's just a matter of if these young players grow into it.
Right. And you still have Carey Price in it.
You still have Carey Price in that.
If he can be healthy, still pretty good.
Yeah, he's going to be there for a long, long time.
Very true. All right, we're in the top 3 now. Montreal done. Toronto up next. They finished 3rd last year. Shockingly, only a couple points up on Montreal, getting the last spot in the division. Again, losing to Boston in the playoffs. And it feels like that's the thing, right? They have to find a way to either avoid Boston in the playoffs or beat them. Because this team has to do something.
They have to beat Boston in the playoffs.
Is that
it? Just doesn't it feel like it would there'd always be an asterisk beside it if they made it through to the end and didn't beat Boston?
You know what? I'm pretty sure Leafs fans wouldn't care how they managed to win a Stanley Cup. If they can go around Boston to win a Stanley Cup, they're not going to be you know what? This one doesn't count. I know we've been waiting 50 years for a Stanley Cup, but let's wind this one back.
Yeah, well, Brad Marchand would be sitting on the sidelines licking his nose, being like, "Well, you didn't beat us, did you?" Yeah.
This team's good. They're still going to be good.
They're going to be great. Honestly, this is a huge year for them. To me, they have to go on a big run this year because they've got Jake Muzzin, they've got Tyson Barrie. They're 2, very, very good defensemen who can produce, and they're not going to have them next year.
And I'm very curious to see how the Nazem Kadri-less Leafs organize things, because I know Babcock talked about that in the offseason, that he would use Kadri more than he should or more than he wanted to just because of who he was. So if they can really just put it all on those 2 lines, which is what they should be doing, and ride them, this team will be very good.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, they should be.
When you have, I would say, best top 6 in the league, or tied with Tampa at least. So there's no reason that you shouldn't be winning playoff rounds.
Yeah, totally agree. And I'm not terribly confident that Boston's going to finish in the top 3 of this division. But if they do, they're going to end up playing the Leafs again.
Well, let's get to that. Sure, Boston, as much as Montreal did nothing this offseason, Boston somehow did less than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What are they going to do?
Well, they couldn't, right? There was no space. They signed their restricted free agents to deals, and they're done.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think this team, like with every passing year, their core gets another year older. Bergeron's already looking like he's got old bones. Like that guy just looks like he sits in an ice bath every night.
I mean, he very well might.
Yeah.
Well,
so go ahead.
No, I was just gonna affirm you in that. That's all.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think with every year that passes, I don't see this team getting better.
No, exactly. There are players on this team that I do still see getting better, but like Pasternak at 23, like how much more can he do?
Yeah.
He's peaked, it's a great peak, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. There's a few, like McAvoy, I see him taking a little bit more. That's really it. Like outside of him, this team is what they are and will only go down from here.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, they're going to want to get more out of guys like, I don't know, Jake DeBrusk. But I don't even know who else. I'm looking for other names. I'm not seeing them. But realistically, how much more can these guys give you?
Yeah. So you would say, I know you said you would not be surprised. Do you have like Toronto 2, Boston 3 though? Is that kind of okay?
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I would agree. Which brings us Tampa. Our number ones, they set the record last year. I guess tied the record, with all due respect to the Red Wings that they tied them with. Tied the record for the most wins ever.
Right. That's right.
Tied it. This year, some changes happening in Tampa for sure. They're not bringing back exactly the same team. Ryan Callahan has the back injury. He's gone. He was, not going to be playing this year anyways. They brought in Kevin Shattenkirk on a short 1-year deal after being bought out. They have Curtis McElhinney as the backup now, which I think is better than Louis Domingue from last year, right? He managed to win a playoff round somehow.
Yeah.
And the rest of the core is back. There is no reason for me to think that they can't, even after being swept by Columbus. That is irrelevant to me. Any team can have a bad 4 games.
100% agree. The playoff series was the playoff series, and let's call it what it was. It was a bit of a fluke.
Yeah.
So
they didn't play well enough, and they will learn from it and keep going. This team is too good to not still be in contention.
Yeah. 100% agree. I think they're going to finish first overall again.
Yeah, they're my President's Trophy pick. They're my, if I was making, and let's do that to wrap this up. We finished our previews. Do you have a Stanley Cup pick? I'll give you mine. It's Tampa. They have shown me nothing that other than the fact that they can continue to win. And in the same way that we saw for years that like Washington, I feel the same way about the same comparable to Toronto, right? That team that like does well, and then like Washington having to get past Pittsburgh every year, and they couldn't,
right.
and they couldn't, and they couldn't. And then like they did, and then they won a Stanley Cup. And it's like, look at us, we can do it. I feel like that with Toronto, with their Boston overcoming. I feel like that with Tampa as well. Tampa's obviously has won, with some of this team moderately similar. So, just do it again.
So you're going Tampa, eh?
Which is it's the boring pick, but yes, I'm going Tampa.
I'm going to go Nashville.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot.
I'm going to go Nashville. I think that Nashville will be a lot of fun if they win. So that's my pick. No, I think they're a good team. I think they faced enough adversity. I think they made some good off-season moves. And I think they can make a deep run.
Absolutely, they can. Add in Duchesne there. Obviously, they lose, on Subban, but their defensive depth there. Nashville's going to be a very good team this year.
Yeah.
So, Nick, a couple things that have changed this year at the old fourth line. One of them, high sticking. Last year, and maybe we'll bring it back. We actually hadn't talked about this. The Pavel Bure's, something that we did last year.
Oh, yeah.
We would pick the must-watch games of every week because games start this week. If you put this off and to listen to it on Thursday, there's already been games. So that's something that we can do, and maybe that's a conversation we should have had before starting the show. Just, maybe.
We can pick some games.
Yeah, we can pick some must-watch games. It's half a week. Yeah. But high sticking, a game that we have played for years, and it has had various versions. What was it before? Game-winning goal scorers was the first version, right? We played that for years. Then we switched it up last year, and we picked with our Pavel Bure must-watch game. Pick the score of every game.
Yep.
This year it's changed. This is entirely independent of the Pavel Bure's. This year, every week, running from Monday, that's the start of the week, to Sunday. That lets us finish it so that we can talk about it on the show the next day. That's why the Sunday. So starting on Monday, you can pick a forward, a defenseman, and a goaltender. We're playing weekly fantasy hockey. Every week it resets. You get, and now tell me how you feel about this for scoring. 2 points for a goal, 1 point for an assist, 1 point for a win, and 2 for a shutout? Or just an extra bonus point for a shutout?
No, I like 2 for a shutout.
Okay. So you get a shutout, it's going to be a 3-pointer. You get big points for a shutout. So there it is.
Big points.
It's only 4 stats that matter. Goals, assists, wins, and shutouts. You pick a goalie, forward, defenseman. You can pick those at any point in the week. You do not get to change them. So the first ones you send in, that's what we're using. Okay? Gets way too complicated if people are changing them throughout the week.
Yeah, you can't.
No. Then we would just start a fantasy league. But this is what you get to do. So send them in on Twitter. We'll be sending out the request. We'll still mention it on the Twitters probably daily, just a reminder for you, especially as we're getting into the season and changing up how we're doing it. Remind you of the scoring, things like that. You can also send them in on email, Facebook. I know most of our high sticking has been through Twitter, but feel free to send them in anyway. And we'll be keeping track of it. We'll keep track probably monthly. We'll hand out some prizes. We've got these lovely pucks that we've got here. We've got some stickers, and we'll send those out to you. Nick and I both keep them at our desks. It's a great stress toy.
I like how when you say we've got these pucks that we're handing out, you show it to the camera as if people are watching us.
These pucks right here, you can get those. Obviously everyone tuning in live, they all appreciate. I know it's literally just for Nick. I got a new USB camera this week. And
it looks great.
I'm looking nice and crisp.
You look great.
So anyways, that's high sticking. That's how that's going to work this year. A little different, a little fun. It's the fun of daily fantasy, but weekly daily fantasy. You don't have to worry about your draft. It doesn't matter that you accidentally picked Dustin Byfuglien because you get to redo it every week. It's completely fine. You get to fix your mistakes. You get to learn from them. And so, and maybe that team, maybe Dustin Byfuglien's still suspended and you don't want to pick him as your defenseman. So 1 forward, 1 defenseman, 1 goalie, 3 players. We'll hand out points for those. I think it's going to be fun. I think it'll be a hit.
I think it's going to be great for all you people who want to be GMs when you grow up. You can add it to your resume of skills and experience that you have in picking players and building teams. It's
true. Yeah, that's a very good point. And make sure, if you want to use this as a reference, we can send you a tweet. Got 280 character reference. It's a character reference. 280 of them.
Hey.
Let's go to some games. What are you watching? Opening night is...
Well, as everyone knows, I have a Leafs fan in this house.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be watching Ottawa at Toronto.
Okay.
Even though the more interesting game is on the West Coast.
Which is?
San Jose and Vegas.
San Jose and Vegas. I actually, here's a fun thing that I chose to do this week. We were doing our 31 in 31 previews. I got home from a friend's birthday party at 1 a.m, realized that I had not yet written the preview for the next day. And so quickly spent a solid 15 minutes writing it up. And if you take a read of that, you can tell it was written at 1 a.m.
I'm assuming that was Vegas.
That was Vegas, yeah.
V for 31.
Yeah, we're getting down to the end of it. I forgot we ran in Vancouver that morning. I was like, okay, cool. Washington's the next night. Vegas is the night after. I'm good. I've got time. And then on the Uber ride home, I realized, oh no.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know you're a real writer. You've missed your deadline.
Yeah.
You forgot you were supposed to do something. So you just submit it without having it edited.
Yeah. I did manage the good thing about living in a different time zone than Mike, who's the other editor on the site. It's nice because like he'll be waking up about when I submitted it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Actually, he was awake when I submitted it because I messaged him. I was like, by the way, this is coming, and he messaged back. So, much appreciated to Mike for doing that. But, it was a fun article. And I think my animal comparison, what animal would the Knights be, was very accurate. So,
ooh,
yeah.
All right. That's a good tease. Everyone go read the article. So
you're right. Wednesday, Vegas, San Jose. And actually that's a home and home because they're going to be doing that again Friday night.
Ooh.
So that'll be a good one. More, as they should, more previews, playoff rematches in those first days. So Thursday, what I'm going to be watching, not on altitude because no one will be, but on Sportsnet West. Calgary and Colorado is up on Thursday. Other playoff rematch. So
that'll be a good game.
Absolutely. Friday, I would probably still stick with Vegas, San Jose. They're playing the second half of that. If you're off work early, there's a game that starts at 2:00 Eastern time in Europe.
Oh, it's the European game.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Kind of.
There'll be some all-day hockey. There'll be some afternoon hockey. And then 3 early games, and then Friday, leading us up to the big Saturday, the first Saturday of the season, still the big night.
Big night in hockey.
I see this. This is the first big test of Florida. Florida at Tampa Bay. And
I think that's the game.
I think so. Yeah.
Or Washington at Carolina, which is also a playoff rematch.
Also a playoff rematch. And also I realized both of these, we actually flipped it. So it's not actually they're hosting those teams. But those will be good games. Those will be, 2 to watch there.
Yeah.
Sunday is, I don't know. Sunday. We've got Tampa and Carolina. We also have, a Detroit game. So
I'll be watching Dallas at Detroit, but it won't be interesting.
Like this is when now we can be completely honest because we're not picking these for high sticking. Like we don't have to pick a game of the day, which is very freeing if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. So head over to our Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast where you can find out or you can send in your picks for the players that you want. Make sure to send those in and have those so that we can use it for high sticking. Send them in with the hashtag high sticking. Makes it easier to find your 3 players. We'll hit you up with a retweet whenever you send those in. This seems like a thing we can do. Let everyone see how smart you are. And they're like, dang, I wish I had picked him. It's a good pick. Especially for this.
Can multiple people pick the same player?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's not like once Connor McDavid's gone, you don't get him.
Okay.
No, you can pick the same, if everyone wants to, Connor McDavid's on a heater, let's roll with him. Or, somehow there's like the schedule makers have a team playing 4 times in a week. Maybe roll some of them.
I like where this is going, Carl. I have to say.
It's going to be fun. So head on over to our Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast or mail at the Fourth Line Podcast if you want to email us, facebook.com/the Fourth Line Podcast. Tomorrow, our final 31 and 31 comes out, the Winnipeg Jets. Thank you to everyone over there. All of our writing team has been fantastic. It's been a ton of fun. And, again, shout out to Mike for all of his great work in getting these done. If it was just up to me, this for sure would not have happened. So, shout out to Mike for making this possible.
Go Wings, go.
Yeah, I mean, you two can celebrate that together.
Or cry together.
I mean, hold each other. Hold each other together. Before we wrap up the show, let's remind everyone about the Alberta Podcast Network. Obviously, a fantastic place to be. And we talk all the time about all the great things and the great sponsors of this network. One, and I don't know if we've ever had them on this show, Alberta Health Services, which is obviously, if you live in Alberta, you use it at some point in your life, at least when you're born. They have something very important to share with you.
We ask these children if they know when to go to emergency and when there are other options.
Maybe if someone had a seizure or a heart attack, I would go to emergency if I was paralyzed or broke something. They're there to treat people that are really sick or really hurt.
If you have an emergency or if you're not sure, we're here to help. Know your options. Call HealthLink at 811 or visit ahs.ca/options.
Thanks to Alberta Health Services for being a supporter of the Alberta Podcast Network, and definitely an important message that they have for you there. It's back, Nick. Hockey is upon us. I'm excited. Let's do this.
All right. In honor of the NHL's new partnership with Green Day, I'm going to take us out this week with a rendition of a Green Day song. Summer has come and passed. Hockey season comes so fast. Wake me up when September ends. 1, 2, 3, let's have fun!